Note here, the agar that you don't finish when pouring your plates, if there's, if there's plenty in there, go ahead and just leave it. Don't worry about it. Once it solidifies, it's pretty easy just to shake out and put in the garbage, which is much better than dumping it down the sink. Down the sink, solidifies, clogs it up, we got problems. So just go ahead and leave it there and set. Once it sets, dump it out into a trash can, rinse it out at the sink, and put that also in one of the white tubs/buckets by the sink. Now again, you're only doing that with the stuff that does not have culture in it. Let's go ahead and talk about cultures and culture transfer. All right, so the second half of your in-person lab is going to be about aseptic transfer techniques. What that means, aseptic means non-contaminated. Transfer is the moving of something, and the technique is how to do something. So we are trying to move, in this case, our cultures to our media without contamination. Now, the way that we do that mostly is using heat. Heat has a great ability to kill, well, everything, especially if it's hot enough. So what we're using for this, we use what's called an inoculation loop. The reason is because we use it to inoculate and it has a little metal loop, right? Okay, so in order to sterilize it, what we need to do is use heat. We have here a loop sterilizer. It's been on for a while, so as you can tell, it is heated up. It is a brilliant orange, hot in there. And once we stick our loop in there, in just a few seconds, everything is incinerated, and that is sterile. Now, also because it's so small, it doesn't remain super hot very long. Fortunately, also because we're dealing with broths, we have a whole bunch of culture in here, and we don't have to worry about killing it by dipping this loop in there. So, how to inoculate our tubes? You have these tubes that hopefully are completely sterile because you've used great technique in transferring your BHI broth to the sterile tubes. And now we just have to introduce our culture. There is a little bit of a trick to do that. Okay, the first thing what we want to do is, like before, we want to loosen the lids of the two things that we are messing with, all right? After the lids are loose and we're all ready, we have them labeled. We incinerate our loop, hold it in there for a few seconds. Don't leave it in there for long or you'll melt the loop off. I have a bunch of handles with no loops on them because people forget them in there. Don't, it doesn't take that long. Once you have that, what you need to do is you grab both of the tubes that you're wanting to use. Okay, so you take your first tube that has the culture and you use your pinky and palm to lift it off. Notice that I'm not touching the rim or the tip or anything of the lid, just the side of it. And I'm going in with my loop and I'm just sort of swirling it around like that. Now, ideally, what you also want to do before you even go in is you swirl the tube around itself. Okay, I've used my culture. Now, go back and go to the tube that I'm wanting to inoculate, stick it in there, swirl it around as well, take it out, put the lid on, put it down, and incinerate my loop once again. This is getting rid of whatever culture was on there so that it is sterile again. Okay, I'm going to go through that process once more. Have my two tubes. Loosen the lids. Incinerate the loop. Pick up the culture. Go in. Get a loop full. Go back to my sterile media. Put it in there. Put the lids on. Put them down. That's it. That is how you do aseptic transfer from broth to broth.